Hello, everyone. Was long time when we did last video. My name is Anastasia Fox. Anastasia's Art of Life CEO, and with me today is a beautiful writer, beautiful soul, beautiful coach, life coach, Natasha Aylott, my sister of another mother, as we always joke. First of all, I want to say everyone hello. Was long time because COVID. I keep myself for myself. A lot of projects to work with. A lot of issues come up which I need to focus on in particular communities, which we maybe a little bit discussed later. And today it's quite heavy topic we want to talk about, because with Natasha we always talk about how to help another people, how to spot issues, how to guide people overcome the challenging times. This time, taking in consideration that over the COVID, the statistically domestic violence really get out of the roof, we was told start our uh, weekly talks about different topics, and today we pick up the most topic, which is most painful topic, and I'm survivor of domestic violence myself, about domestic violence. Hello, Natasha. What you want to say to our auditory today? And our topic is domestic violence and how you cope this hot weather either.
Hi there, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you, Anastasia, for a lovely introduction. Well, the weather, first of all, is absolutely gorgeous. I'm loving it. I love the sunshine. It is amazing, and I'm totally in my happy place. Maybe I'm melting a little, but it's all good. Yeah, today's topic is a big one, and it's not an easy conversation to have. It is a deep conversation. It is very raw for many people, brings back memories for others, and domestic abuse is widespread, and particularly during lockdown, it has become more prevalent. And it's not only domestic abuse for wives or for husbands, it also affects the children. So today, Anastasia and I are going to be talking around this whole subject and what is domestic abuse, and how many different types of domestic abuse there are, because there are many different forms it can come with, some very blatant, some much more subtle, but nevertheless, they are all hugely damaging, psychologically damaging, unless they're recognised and challenged and resolved. Then they will affect you. They can affect you certainly for the rest of your life. So it's a really big topic. So thank you, Anastasia, for being brave enough to tackle this together with me.
Yeah, I'm tackle this problem because um, I'm survivor of particular this kind of abuse from really early age in a childhood time, where was domestic violence in day out, where in those days and that country, which was Soviet Union, do not take seriously, and everything what happened behind the doors happened for yourself and you need to deal with. There wasn't any recognition of domestic violence. There either was saying if husband do not beating the wife, that means husband do not love the wife. So of course this is a little bit maybe harsh to hear, but the same time that actually domestic violence in a Soviet Union time was normal topic, where I think 90% of the population go through. Nevertheless, in the United Kingdom, when I'm now living in 15 years, I'm so proud to say that United Kingdom really tackle this kind of problem, and there is so many communities where actually do not have any ideas what is domestic violence, because majority people think domestic violence it's only when you physically see some kind of injuries, or there it's physical. Actually, there are many more domestic violences, as you mentioned, Natasha. And I want to pick up these topics because people do not recognize that mental abuse is one of the deepest concerns, because it's hardest to detect, and not always you can tackle. The same about the financial domestic violence, and there are as well controlling, which and the moment as well, it's one of the sites which is so widely in United Kingdom in the families, that one of or another family member or parents either control child or partner, where it's going, what time you need to be there back. If you do not come back, there it's always trouble. The person gets scared. There are threats. That is domestic violence too. So the mental abuse, all the time humiliation or in a public place, threaten of your behaviors, this is as well, it's domestic violence. So there are many things which actually we need to talk about that. And I want to share this story because I went through my own. I went through to seeing how my parents control each other and have a physical domestic violence, how later this affect me. I've been physically abused and sexually abused from early age, where wasn't recognition of that. Actually, we have a first person which say hi to us. It's Aelita. Hello, Aelita. Lovely to have you here. So if you have any questions around the domestic violence, the signs and what to do, please feel free to make the comments of it. So the scariest things, majority of domestic violence, when you start to recognize you are have one, it's step out uh, and looking for help, because you all the time feel that it's your fault, that it's you who's um, organized or some kind of intimidate to have this relationship, and the abuser mentally all the time try make you feel that that's it's your fault. And nobody person in a world want to uh, go out and admit that there is some kind of my fault and that's happened. So Natasha, you quite a lot know about human mental states. Maybe you can explain why people who have this abuse, why they hard for them it's hard to step out uh, and looking for help.
Yeah, it's a huge topic, isn't it? Domestic abuse, absolutely huge, because you've got, as you said, you've got the physical abuse, um, one human being towards another human being, in terms of, you know, uh, initiating pain and causing pain to somebody, so hitting them, punching them, cutting them, all kinds of horrible things that go on. There is also sexual abuse, which goes on adult to adult and adult to child, which is horrendous.
But
There
I
is
can
also
say
a
that people
psychological
do not
abuse.
recognize that husband can be sexual abusive to the wife. The
Well, I
many
think in this
women.
country, I think in this country, Anastasia, it is widely accepted that, you know, if a husband is abusive to a wife, say for example, sex, yeah. So if sex has got to be consensual, and which means that two people agree. So even if they're married, for example, then if the husband wants to have sex and the wife doesn't, and he forces himself on her, that is rape. That is rape, whether it's within a marriage or not. And then it's accepted in this country, the UK, that is rape, and you know, that is not okay. Just because you're married, it doesn't mean to say that you own your wife or you own your husband, or in fact, if you have children, that you own your children, because you don't. So the third type of abuse is psychological abuse. So psychological abuse is when somebody is game playing, they're making you feel secure, then they're being insulting to you, then they're making you feel secure, they're playing games all the time, they're sort of threatening you in a psychological way, and it really damages your mind. It messes with your head, and it's very dangerous. And the other type of abuse is verbal abuse, where, you know, it's name calling all the time, and then they say, the person who's the perpetrator will say, oh, I was only joking, or I was just being sarcastic, or I was just playing, or it was just for fun. Well, you know, when one person says to another person, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're horrible, you're ugly, or nobody likes you, or you're unintelligent, or whatever it is, that is verbal abuse. And the verbal abuse and the psychological abuse are two of the most discreet forms of abuse that there are. And they tend to happen very gradually, particularly in long-term relationships or marriages, where one person, and it could be the man who's doing this, it could be the woman who's doing this, and it could be to their husband or their wife, or it could be to their children. But it's when they are using words, and it's about their own insecurities, but it's when they're using their words to cause damage, to cause harm to that other person. And this kind of abuse, the verbal abuse and the psychological abuse, causes deep psychological damage permanently to that person. And it could lead to mental health issues and mental health problems. It could lead to self-harm. It could lead to attempted suicide. And it definitely leads to an erosion of self-confidence and self-esteem. So it's really important that, first of all, we recognize all these types of domestic abuse are abuse, and
We
they can
have
be
a
dressed up in
question.
certain ways, but essentially
We
it is abuse. What's the question?
Aylott asked me, many are afraid to talk to others about domestic violence. How to help them start talk about it?
Well, it's very important that you first of all recognize that it is abuse, and that it is not okay, and that it is not your fault. If it's happening to you, it is not your fault. It is nothing that you have done. It is all about the perpetrator. It's all about them. It's control. It's because inside they're feeling really small, but they want to control. So first of all, it's to understand you have done nothing wrong if it's yourself that's being abused. The second thing is to then find somebody that you can absolutely trust to talk with. So it might be the Samaritans, it might be the Citizens Advice, it might be a helpline of some description in the first place, because it's really important that you reach out for help, because there's nothing that you have done wrong. And, you know, there is help out there, and there are plenty of other people who have gone through what you're going through, or who are unfortunately going through what you're going through. So you are not alone, and there is always a solution. There is always a way out, always.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about as well that it's not only organizations and psychology professionals who help you get over that, but actually start reporting and recording this abuse. It's vital, because it became the worst situation where you need to prove. There are a couple things which I want to give as a tips for the people what need to be done. If there are psychology abuse or mental abuse or calling names and manipulation with it, uh, please, my biggest advice, start to write the journal where particular day, particular time, what exactly was said and how you feel about it, and make this recording some kind of, not in a videos, not in a voice recording format, because when you write it down, you easier remember, and you blueprinting that you let go as well. It's some sense you protect yourself in psychology way, that you let somewhat that abuse already on a paper. Nevertheless, these recordings will be one of the biggest you instruments to prove that you have mental and verbal abuse, which later on can be as the evidences against the perpetrator. So that is really crucial, because if you call the names and say, oh, that and that, and you call the police and there is worst case scenario, you cannot prove how many times it was happened. You cannot, there need to be evidence. So first, you are absolutely right, we need to recognize that actually we going through the domestic violence. We definitely need to start think what kind of evidence I can collect, because maybe these evidences will be crucial to support myself to get away from this abuse. Because you need to understand that there are people which using now domestic violence as excuses to manipulate with others. So you need crucial evidences, and that is majority if you have a recordings with a paper as a journal, where you can mention what time, what kind of situation was, what kind of names was, how you feel about that. That is important as well, when you put down how you feel about that situation, that moment and that time. Because later, if you're going back, the situation and the viewing of the situation can be changed, because information came over to you from different angles and you do not remember anymore exactly how you felt in at that moment at that time. So this is um, really challenging to do so sometimes, because if you perpetrator actually start see that you do the recordings, that can as well trigger. But remember, if you start feel insecure, the first, you can call 999, because in the United Kingdom any third of the killings, it's based on a domestic violence. And for police forces, this is priority call. If you call and say, I have a domestic abuse at home, I need help, the police will arrive, doesn't matter which kind of circumstances, they will be there for you. And that will be one of the another proofs that actually you call out for the help. Natasha,
Yeah,
what?
I think that's really no. I think that's a really good point, Anastasia. Firstly, that's a really good addition. You know, keeping a journal, keeping a record,
Yeah.
because you know the first time it happens, the first time maybe if it's verbal abuse, your partner calls you a name, you might think nothing of it, or you might go, "Well, what was that about?" They might be in a bad mood, but don't make excuses for it. Keep making, just date it and what was said. Yeah, of course, if you've got the time, put your feelings again around that. Made me feel small, it eroded my confidence, it made me feel unloved, or whatever it is. And secondly, to, you know, so keep a journal. And secondly, you know, we have police force in this country, in the United Kingdom, and it's really important that, you know, you understand that they're there to protect you. You know, our taxpayers money goes to pay for the police force and the fire brigade and the hospital, the ambulance services. And so therefore you mustn't feel guilty that you're wasting their time, or you mustn't feel that you're not, you know, eligible to make these calls. So definitely always phone 999, you know, emergency services. If your life is in danger in any way, you know, if you're being abused physically, sexually, or
I think
mentally, it's really important that you reach out for help.
it's actually, when you say your life is danger, it's not about only life is danger, because every record, every time you call the police, that's it's in a record that actually you feel that became abusive relationship. And the police will be those people which came question and be as a witnesses of that particular act. There are situations where police can even take further without your consent, if they actually see that particular person or family member is in a dangerous situation, where they can arrest perpetrator or one and another person to make investigation. They have all the powers to separate these two people, to give the space to make investigation and to resolve the issues, because it's really difficult being in an abusive domestic violence situation and family or relationship, to get away from it. And that is the hardest bit, to break up, where these two people, it's separate in the separate spaces. That it's always one or another thing. Where his will go, or how I feel about that. There it's no way. As more you allowed, as deeper this particular abuse will take place. This is what I always can say. If you have once been abused by your partner, I do not call that gender. That can be woman, that can be man, that can be brother, that can be sister, that can be cousin. But between two people, you need to completely understood that you need to step up straight away. If you do not do that, what happened? You gave more power, you perpetrator. And they always come with a bigger force because you allowed it. And that is, well, it's really important to understand in a domestic violence that there's sometimes you allowed to have this situation because you do not deal with it. To deal with it, there is several ways how to do so. You always can contact me in a private messenger, because it's sometimes really sensitive to talk about on a screen, because each family have different kind of rules, and there is cultural, there is many things, but there is always organization, there is always support, there is always way out. But you need to act. You do not need to wait or hope the perpetrator will be more nicer and he's do not do this again. If he's done it once, that it's more likely will be second time, and each time will get worse.
Yeah, I think this is a pattern that's really important to recognize, Anastasia, isn't it? And it's actually really hard to hear for somebody else, who's the victim, that in some way that they are responsible, or that they have
Yes,
encouraged or whatever.
but this is how you
really
can only get over it.
Well, the thing about it is, when somebody is being physically, sexually, or verbally abusive to you, when you tolerate it the first time, it will continue. And like you said, the pattern is with these perpetrators that the next time will be more severe, and the next time will be more severe. And in that sense, because you have not said no or stop in that moment, then that's almost like they're taking it as permission to do it again, that it's okay to do it again, and it's really not. And before you know it, you are several months down the line, or several years down the line, sometimes even decades, and it becomes this horrendous, vicious, trapped cycle that you become in. So as Anastasia rightly pointed out, it is vitally important that the first time must be the last time before you take action, before you record it, before you reach out. You might just want to go onto the helplines, you might want to record it, and you need to contact the police. Now, it is very, very difficult when you're in a relationship and you love your partner, and you're confused as to why they are being abusive to you, and you want to protect them. I understand that, but nevertheless, you absolutely have to, because this is about you. And if you are a mother or a father who is being abused, and you have little children, what are you showing your children? What example are you setting them that it's okay for them to be abused? So either now or later on in their life, when they become adults and they have their own relationships moving forward, if they are seeing or feeling or witnessing or listening to or something, because they will be aware of it if it's happening in the household, even if it's not in the same room. And
this is
the
the
life,
next
these are the relationships
level.
that they need to be used to getting, or are you saying to them it is not okay? Because when you are a parent, you have a duty of responsibility to yourself and to your children also.
Yeah,
Don't you think,
Natasha, and
Anastasia?
that's the point. That's the point where in a relationship, you think this is only involved two people, which is partners. And if they have a children, they think, oh, children do not have involved. Actually, they are more involved than even you can imagine, because they observing you behaviors, you energies in a family without no filter. If the children it's still to 7 years old, and they take this as a normality, as a normal life, as a way of how to build their own life, relationship, and how to build their own values of their lives. I've been one of those where I see huge domestic abuse in a very early age. I was have a as well physical evidences and huge surgeries in an early age because of domestic abuse between my parents, and I was beaten as well. Um, Actually, that will be in my book. I read writing the book now, and there will be explanations. Never, and with all that, I only 5 6 years ago start recognize that this abusive family model I make for myself, that understanding really early that I do everything to not have this kind of relationship in my life. But at the same time, I couldn't find any way how to build in another wise any relationship between the friends, between the partners, between either in a workspace. Because this abusive, this violent, hesitant environment gave me the main values, which now actually I make any decisions based on. So if people think, oh, my children didn't see that my partner slapped me, you don't need to see that. Children feel that without seeing. If it's verbal abuse, then you think what kind of uh, children you will raise and how they will talk with you later, if they from childhood time see you as a partners speaking in that way between you each other. So this is what majority people even do not recognize, how important actually it's separate as fast it's possible where it's any signs of abuse, financial, mental, physical, any kind of controlling. It's one of the another huge abuse ways, where you cannot see the friends, where you start feel that your partner start isolate you, do not like that people come to see you, do not like you go and see your friends, or that is the biggest sign that it's something wrong, that it's no way can be healthy relationship if someone start control and every 10 minutes text who you are, where you are, why you are not at home
I
again.
think that's really interesting, actually, Anastasia, isn't it? Because, of course, there is all of that as well, which is abuse, and
Yeah.
which is control abuse. And that's something that we hadn't touched on before. And I think it's, I recognize a lot of these from past relationships for myself as well.
Yeah.
Like criticizing what you're wearing, stopping you from
Yes.
going out, criticizing
Yes.
the friends that you have, saying they're bad people, they're bad influence on you, and they might be your best friends ever. And also, not wanting to go out. So you might be both invited somewhere, and the last minute they say, I'm not going, I can't go. And so because they're your partner, you don't go either. So you're missing out. So yeah, I mean, this is, and asking where you are all the time. It's all controlling behavior. So I think it's really important to recognize that it is hugely broad and wide, this spectrum, and it can be anywhere along the lines. And there are many, many people who, you know, behave like this and show up like this. You also mentioned financial. I find that really interesting because, you know, if the husband or the wife, whichever partner, whichever person it is, controls the finances and maybe
even
only gives a little bit of
parents.
even, but I'm just thinking about the couples,
Yeah,
controls the finances, like, you know, this is your money for the week, this is for housekeeping for the week, and it could be a really small amount of money. That's control. You know, when two people come together, they choose to, and it's interesting because when I got married, my husband had a different bank account and I had a different bank account. We had separate bank accounts. I was independent, he was independent. But for most people who choose to get married, they choose to have a joint bank account. So a joint bank account means that both people can access the money for the bills, for the shopping, maybe to have their hair done, maybe to, you know, go out with their friends for a meal, this kind of thing. And as long as neither is abusing that in any way, it should be a given. People are paying into it and people are taking out from it and they're enjoying it. And even if it's one person who's working and the other person who's supporting the family and the household, then that's still a balance. And so therefore it's still shared resource. So
um,
it's, you know, this is
yeah.
probably resonating with a lot of people, I would imagine, actually. So if this is resonating with you and you're hearing something that you didn't realize could be a form of abuse or a form of control, then you know, hopefully you will be able to now know what the signs to recognize in that.
We have a Lauris who's looking our conversation from Latvia. Sveika, Laurīti. I'm just say hello because the conversation is really deep, and unfortunately I'm not sure that Lauris speak English language, but it's nice he say hello to us and to you as well, Natasha. So he say have a lovely chat, girls. Um,
Thank you. Thank you.
Saying, I think, Natasha, I do not want this heavy conversation go on for a long time. We was already for half an hour today in a live, and I think for first time that will be enough. But what we can now talk a little bit and cup make the cup for today that we recognize which kind of abuse there are as a domestic violence, and I think definitely we need uh, maybe discuss each of the particular signs of it and how to deal with it, because today was some kind of little bit global, a little bit some kind of big lines that yes, there it's financial, there it's mental, there it's physical, and there it's financial, and controlling, it's the main domestic violence sections. But there is as well is what is interesting. There's sometimes this all it's mixed together, and that it's more dangerous. So if we in the next week, because we now try with the Natasha every week or any other week, 1 o'clock be here to speak about domestic violence and what we can do and what we can support and how to overcome and which kind of techniques to use and which kind of evidence to collect, to show up and to give the police or authorities where you need to show yes that actually it's abuse. So what I want to say the next week, if you people which watching now or watching in a replay, put in a comments which particular subject will be interesting we talk about next week, 1 o'clock, or we do the week after. Natasha.
Yeah, I think every fortnight is good because, you know, people need time to, I mean, this is a huge
Yes.
topic, isn't it,
Yeah.
Anastasia? So people will need time to really absorb it
Think.
and
Yeah.
recognize it and think about it and reflect, and maybe start taking some steps, some action steps for themselves as well.
Yeah.
Maybe buy a journal, start keeping a journal,
And
recognizing
always,
the
yeah.
signs and these sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and always you are free to contact us. The consultation, we do not charge money. We just give a support. We give you signposting, what to do, how to recognize, and what kind of techniques you can start using. So, feel free if you feel trapped and you don't know what to do. Reach us out, Natasha Aylott in her Facebook page, or me, Anastasia Fox, in my Facebook page, or here in comments. If you do not want to open up, because people really do not like to talk about, you can text in a private messenger as well, which is not in a public space, which is completely understandable. So, Natasha, thank you so much for your time. And we will put our advert about next hour live sometime next week, I believe. Then, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important to recognize where people are at. And certainly, nobody wants to admit the shame, the embarrassment, the fear, or they don't want to talk publicly about it. So, reach out privately. Anastasia's got a lot of connections, a lot of links to, organizations that will be able to help, and you can reach out to. Anastasia and I are both coaches. We both work very, closely with our clients, one
Yeah.
to one as well as, face to face. And so during lockdown, we've been doing much more online work, Skype and Zoom with our clients. And,
Yes.
so if this is also something you want to explore, this is an option for you as well. So just know that there is something, you are not alone. And there's always something that you can do, and there's always somebody you can reach out to, and it's really, really important that you do take action. So thank you very much, everybody who's been listening and joining in, and please comment and share, as Anastasia has said, about this video, and let us know what the next topic is for you that resonates with you within this that we've discussed today, that would really help you, with your own experiences, and or somebody that who's going through this at the moment.
And I think feel free to share this video as well for people. Maybe you feel that it's something going on. Share this video, because maybe they do not have a courage to come up to us, but they have the information what for them can be really crucial to start get the first step or recognition. So thank you so much, my darling Natasha. Send you a lot of love, a lot of sunshine, because that's what we have now. Lot of hot
Yay!
weather, which for me
Yeah,
it's
lots of
too hot.
hugs, lots of hugs.
I use my fan, because
Your
for me it's
fan.
much too hot. So, and we see our viewers in the next 2 weeks, and topic will be about domestic violence, but for particular one of the subjects. And then we will talk about well-being, how to pick up particular from that subject to somewhere else. So lovely to see you all. Enjoy the hot weather. The same time, looking after yourself. Drink a lot of water. Be aware that sun is quite strange and strong. Do not think you are stronger than sun. Drink a lot water. Do not eat a lot, because that will make you more hot. So send you love, everyone, and loads lovely times. Bye.